Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Collectin and Connectin fam. We're back with episode 64. I'm your host, BananaMac, doing my best King Brett impression. Today we have with you the mayor, Treat. How are you today?
Doing well, fam. Good to be here.
Next up, we have the one, the only, the passive income king, Josh, aka Inspired by Mamba. How are you doing today?
Hey, what's going on? Happy birthday, Kobe.
Yeah.
Yes.
And last but not least, the guy who brought you guys trade tickets, grails on Flowty, and so much more. We have MBL. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm excited to be the three of you guys, three of my favorite people in the community and the ecosystem. Ready to chat, ready to have a good time this Friday afternoon.
Nice.
That's what we like to hear. Let's kick it off. Do you want to start off, MBL, by telling us a little bit about the Flowty changes with the loans? Jump right into it.
Yeah, let's go right into the deep end here. So I'll give you guys all the details. Probably 2 weeks ago, we got a message from the Flow team saying, hey, just an FYI, USDC, which is, for anyone listening who doesn't know, USDC is a stable coin, which is a very fancy word for a crypto token that tracks the price of the US dollar. So one USDC token always is exchangeable and redeemable for $1 US, no matter what happens. So that's different from a token like Flow or like Ethereum or like Bitcoin, where it moves differently from how the US dollar moves. And so the price of Flow in US dollars might move from 50 cents to 75 cents to $1.50. And for that reason, most people prefer to do their loans in USDC, because if you use a different token or a different currency, that token could change value during the term of the loan, which could change your repayment or your desire to repay or the lender dynamics and anything like that. You might suddenly look and need to pay 3 times more to repay your loan than you expected to because the price of Flow changed. So most loans are in USDC. So with that backdrop, we got notice from the Flow team, again, I think it was like 2, maybe 3 weeks ago, that USDC as a token will not survive the crescendo upgrade. And again, technical jargon, basically the Flow blockchain is upgrading their systems on September 4th in a change called crescendo. There's some exciting things that come along with it, but it changes fundamentally how smart contracts and the ecosystem and the blockchain and the protocol work. One of the changes there is that all contracts had to make changes to be compatible with the post-upgrade ecosystem. And USDC, or the company behind USDC Circle, decided we are not going to make those upgrades to our contract, meaning that after Crescendo goes live, USDC will no longer work on the Flow blockchain. And so the problem there for us and for our purposes was there were many, many loans outstanding that had due dates after September 4th. And by nature of how the loans work, you need USDC, exactly USDC. It can't be something else. It's a stable coin. It can't be the equivalent amount in Flow tokens to repay a loan. And so we're suddenly saying to people, you have 2 options. Either it's impossible for you to repay your loan and you have to default, or you have to repay the loan early, which would be us changing the terms on you. And so we basically went to Flow and said, we absolutely will not be going to our users and saying you have to repay your loans early. One, we can't necessarily reach all of our users. Loans are done on an anonymous basis, and some people like to talk about it and be public about their accounts. Some people don't. But we can't guarantee we can reach all of our lenders and all of our borrowers. And we're really, really uncomfortable with the idea of telling them, hey, you have to repay early. We don't know what people are doing. We don't know what people are doing with their tokens. Do they have those tokens available? What that means to them. So we need to work on a solution. And to their credit, they were very, very receptive to this. They said, look, do us a favor, quantify the loans that are outstanding that have a due date of September 3rd or later, and let's talk about what we can do. So we went ahead and did that, and working with them, we concluded that the best option by far was to basically say to these lenders and borrowers who have these active loans due after September 3rd, we're going to repay the loans on your behalf. So you don't have to worry about what happens after September 3rd. You're going to get repaid. You'll get your NFT back without ever having to repay. So lenders get a guaranteed repayment. Borrowers get their NFT back without having to repay. And so the effect of all that is that Flow Foundation and Flowty together, sort of, depending on how you think about it, airdropped around $30,000 to our borrowers who no longer have to repay their loan, but get their NFTs back as if they repaid their loan.
Nice.
It's a nice infusion of cash. It's a really, really nice resolution to what was a potentially really complicated problem. Overall, it was a good outcome. Before I go into kind of step 2 of this, does that all make sense? Any questions about that? Any of you guys have views on how we could have approached it differently? Because it was a kind of unique situation. We're like, shit, what's the best way to handle this?
I think you guys did a pretty good job. I'm curious, do you know or have any idea, like, how often it might happen? Like, is it maybe every 5 years, 10 years? You know?
It should be a one-time thing. This is actually a somewhat unique thing in the blockchain ecosystem. From what I know, there hasn't been any other chain that's put out upgrades or changes that are breaking changes across the ecosystem. Meaning, if you don't take action, your platform, your contracts, your collection will no longer work after the fact. That's called a breaking change in nice tech parlance. So it's a little bit unusual there. So normally it's kind of like, okay, you can make changes if you want that are compatible with, like, the new type of token on Ethereum, let's call it. They have different, like, ERC token types. That's fine. But if you want to stay with the legacy, you can also do that. This was a breaking change, and a platform like Circle is very risk averse. Their whole model is stability. We give you a token, you come back to us and give us a token, we give you $1 back. And as soon as there's anything uncertain that, like, is this contract stable? Are there bugs here? Can I basically mint 100,000 USDC tokens without actually giving $100,000 because of some new bug that emerged because of this breaking change and the upgrade of the contract? Could that happen? And as soon as there are rumors that USDC might have some kind of bug like this in one of the chains they operate, then suddenly everyone says, I don't trust USDC anymore. I'm going to go redeem all my USDC for US dollars. And practically speaking, Circle doesn't have those dollars readily available to redeem, the same way as like any banking system. The banks themselves are investing the money behind the scenes. And so you kind of have a bank run on Circle, which is a disaster from their perspective. So rather than taking the risk of upgrading their contract, they said, we don't want to do it, at least for now. And they'll handle it from there. But it's a unique situation in that we have a breaking change here. And so it won't be every 5 years from what I know. Obviously, we can't dictate if there's another breaking change in the future, but I expect all of this, all the complication here is a one-time thing.
Yeah, and I'd like to add, you handled that amazing. Like, I was happy with the outcome, and I am on I borrow and I lend right now. So I feel like I won on both sides, I guess. But I think how you guys handled it was well. It was super easy to understand for anybody who might not be in the ecosystem. And I think more what confused people maybe than anything was just who don't do the loans, seeing it on Twitter, wondering what was going on. And that was part of the reason I wanted to bring it up right away, is because I know there's a lot of talk on Twitter, and there was a fair amount of people it didn't affect if they're not involved in the loans in USDC.
Yeah, makes a ton of sense. And I think Josh asked a great question there, which is kind of, is this going to happen again? That was one of my first reactions to them. I was like, guys, this is a big problem. Similar to Circle, a big part of our business is kind of trust that this works. Basically, I'm going to put up a loan listing. Someone's going to fill that loan listing. I'm going to receive those tokens. And when I go to repay my tokens by this certain date, I'll get my NFT back. And this whole thing disrupted that kind of agreement that we as a platform have with our users, that this is exactly what is going to happen going forward. And I was a little bit worried that this is something that is unexpected and breaks that concept of nothing will change by definition of a smart contract. This is exactly how it works. And so it was really, really important to me that we made it so no one was negatively impacted, and that we communicated and we were transparent and passed along information as soon as we had it. we don't have any reason to believe that anything's going to change like this at any point in the future. And we hope we've set the precedent that if something does happen unexpected, that we manage it the right way.
Right. Well done.
Thanks. And yeah, that got a little bit technical, a little bit weird. But so step 2 of that, this part's much quicker, is kind of what happens between now, which is August 23rd, and September 4th. And we're in this weird in-between period right now where, because of what I described, we're no longer allowing USDC loan listings because we don't want people to go and create a new loan agreement now and not be able to repay it. So technically, yes, we could allow like a 7-day loan right now, but we thought it was simpler to cut off this concept on Friday last week. This is the last day for USDC loans. We made that clear up front. And now we have this kind of 2 to 3 week period, which is unfortunate, where we don't have USDC or any kind of stablecoin offerings as part of our loan. And part of the challenge there is some people, as a way of almost extending their loans, they'll take out a new loan to repay their old loan, which is, again, a fancy way to extend your loan, basically, to refinance in a sense. And right now, you can't do that. We will be adding support for the new stablecoin on Flow right after Crescendo. It's complicated and dangerous for users for us to have USDC still functional in the ecosystem and this new token on Flowty. So we want to have that breakpoint of USDC is now officially gone and we have this new stablecoin, which is why we have this in-between period. But right now you can do a Flow token loan still and use those funds to then go do a swap to USDC and repay your loan. But it's not ideal. We acknowledge it's not ideal. We will have another stable coin out as soon as we can. There's just not much we can do, unfortunately, right now.
Right. Yeah. Just to clarify, like you said, it's that you still can extend your loan. You just have to do it with Flow now, not USDC. And so I've had some people, fund some of my loans in Flow, which has been cool. I think they're going to end up actually making more money than they would have with USDC in this situation, because since my first Flow loans have been funded, I think it's gone up. Flow is, just with my luck, of course, Flow's like shot up like 10%. But luckily I've, just borrowed smaller amounts so that take into account, like as long as Flow doesn't go over like 70 cents, I should be good. And if it does, with the assets that we get back, I'll definitely borrow against those to have money to extend those loans and everything. So it's been amazing, honestly, the floating platform with the loans and stuff. Like I always say, like I think that at some point people will continue to really gravitate toward it and understand it and everything. But in the meantime, I definitely appreciate being able to leverage it. I feel like when there was like barely anybody, raising money on Flowty with NFTs and stuff, I was able to get a lot of stuff and everything. So I'm really appreciative. Like my collection would not be nearly the same. I don't even know. It's really hard to even imagine what it would be like if I didn't use Flowty loans and everything.
Yeah, and honestly, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say I just wanted to realized too, I didn't have any serial number ones before I took out my first Flowty loan.
Wow.
Yeah. It's crazy how it changes. And like, even for me, I do a lot more lending than borrowing. But like, I've gotten a few moments that I've wanted just out of default. So I actually ended up with a Jalen Williams Legendary the other day. That was a default loan. So the collateral works too when you're after certain moments. Like, I'm happy, no complaints, right?
Wow.
I'll say on my end, I don't want to fanboy too much, but as someone who's a founder of a company who's put like blood, sweat, and tears into the company, lots of late nights, early mornings, lots of stress. I put on 50 pounds and aged myself an extra 10 years as part of this whole experience. It's really, really rewarding to see the kind of content that all three of you guys put out around Flowty and Treat. I love you, Treat, but Banana, Banking Mac, and Josh, you guys, the content you guys put out, and without any like prompting from us, without any asking from us, it means so much. Josh, when you're putting up photos of your friends, of your mom, learning about how Flowty works, when you're kind of seeing the vision that we see about what this means to the future of the ecosystem, about this kind of being the next step of the financial world. And Nicole, I'm going Nicole. When you're putting up your content about both sides of the Flowty transactions, about how important that is to the ecosystem, about doing your debut purchases on Flowty, about showing off your Flowty gear, it's really, really rewarding. And I'm being completely serious when I say our internal Slack. Like we spend a lot of time talking about it and feel so appreciative to what you guys do. It helps us get through long days sometimes, and it's very cool to see that people appreciate our work, and it helps push us forward and encourage us to keep working hard.
Man, I completely agree, and so I feel like I'm kind of in between these two worlds. That when I first got into Top Shot, there were the fantasy sports people that were just, so they talk this language and they talk about these things, and I was just here because I like the moments and they're cool. And now it feels like we've moved, and you guys kind of represent this evolution of people who are using their NFTs in a whole different way that I never even saw coming, right? And so even though I may not understand either of those worlds, I'm still kind of the same guy I was before. Just I love collecting the stuff, but I love watching the things you're doing. It blows my mind, and it's just freaking cool. I may not ever get into it, but it gives me confidence. Like, I love Top Shot for the same reason, but this thing's turning into something that, there's utility, right? There's the good old word that I never thought that would happen. So you're opening eyes, boomers like me who are going, wow, that's freaking cool. And NBL, you and your team are such good communicators. That gives us all confidence in our community that you guys, if you say you're going to do something, you're going to do it. And again, builds confidence and strength in the entire community. So I mean, I agree, man. It's great to see this stuff.
Yeah, you guys are always right on Twitter if there's a problem and handling it. And I know something went on with bulk listings one day, and you guys handled it so great, got the moment back. Like, just that stuff is so appreciated by the community, and it makes it easy to put your name out there because I know what you guys are about and what you do for like the whole ecosystem. Like, I'm never worried shouting out Flowty because I truly believe in you guys and what you're putting out there.
Yeah. We appreciate it. We've always felt like the transparency and communication is important. We're not always going to have good news for everyone, but we just want to make sure everyone knows what's going on, and that when things do go wrong, fortunately, we've had very, very few things go wrong. Our devs are wildly good at what they do, so I'm lucky to have the team behind me that I do. But when things do go wrong, we find that actually I was talking to Austin. Austin's our CTO and co-founder the other day, that we feel very lucky to have the community we do, that we've been on the other side of like bad customer service experiences. You see the way some users talk to the Dapper employees, and we feel very fortunate that anyone who's had issues, they kind of come to us and say like, hey, this isn't working exactly the way I'd expected, what's going on? And they're patient with us. We work with them, they answer questions to help us troubleshoot. And we've been doing this for 3.5 years. I can't think of a single time where I'm like, man, that user is like a real piece of work. I wish they never had. Everyone's acting in good faith. Everyone's coming at it from a very supportive standpoint, and it's very helpful. We feel lucky that that's the case. And from our side, we're motivated to work hard for this group and to let everyone know what's going on. Everyone has every right to know what's going on. There's dollars at stake. People work very hard for their savings, for their assets, their sentimental value, and we recognize people are taking a chance on using this platform, this startup platform, and it's important to us that we kind of reward people for taking that chance. And yeah, we communicate well. So really appreciate you guys saying that.
Yeah, I just want to say too, like, you got what helps with that too, I think, is what your value proposition and what you guys do is like, very simple and doesn't really change, and you don't really overpromise on things. It's just kind of easy to do and everything, but it's a really strong utility. And to the other point of just like being an advocate for Flowty and everything too, I think what's unique about it for me is like it really, there's such an easy alignment, because the way I look at it, right, like I'm getting a lot of value from borrowing against my moments. Between me and my girlfriend Sandra, we've raised over $100,000 using our NFTs over and over again. So that's great and everything. But even as people start to raise money themselves and everything like that, and use their NFTs to borrow money and all that stuff, in the future, if people are just like offering way higher rates than I am and everything, I would love to start funding loans more and earning passive income that way too. So no matter what, that's why I said the other day in one of my tweets, I'll either be borrowing money or lending money all the time, pretty much. Like it's either one or the other. So I think it's easy to advocate for it, because even when Flowty, like I said, when I have a lot of competition raising money, using my NFTs to borrow money, when there's a lot of competition, I can always put on my lender hat. I've funded some loans before, and I want to do more.
Wow.
My question for you, Josh, is where you econometrics? What did you study at school? Because you are so on top of how this market works and how lenders think about it and how borrowers think of it, kind of a break-even interest rate. You're kind of talking about now that on one side of it, it feels like a good risk reward for you as a borrower, but as soon as you kind of cross over a certain point, that risk reward shifts to you as a lender. And just the way you think about it is really great. So my question for you is, what is your training that makes you so knowledgeable about this?
Honestly, I don't have like a formal education in finance and everything.
Oh, get out of here! Come on.
Wow.
I was just trading stocks for a while. I got into like private equity and stuff like that. So I really do like markets and stuff, and I've learned a lot with NFTs and stuff, and just art and everything. And with Dapper and NBATopShot and stuff, there's a really unique opportunity with just the way that it's a collectible and actually not a stock, right? Like I'll never be able to afford all the Google stock or all the Apple stock. Like even if it went to $1, there's still like millions and millions of shares, right? But there's less than 800 Series 1 Finals LeBron. So if all of them were $2, I could buy them all for $1,600. That's a very unique thing with art and stuff. So the way that these markets work is super interesting. But yeah, with the loans thing, I had that realization a long time ago. Like, okay, if it's efficient for me to borrow this money, great. And like I said, if people offer way higher loan rates than I do someday because they see that, oh, this is great, let me do this too, then yeah, I mean, I'll just start funding loans. It's like it's either one or the other.
Yeah, I agree, and it's funny you say it, because I think you think about it the right way. Sometimes when I'm chatting with people, they're like, "Oh, this is a really, really bad deal for borrowers." Let's just say, for example, and I'm like, if you think that, honestly, you should be one of our lead lenders. It's a great opportunity for you, because the borrower is saying, "I'm down for this deal." You just got to go on the other side and be like, "Okay, if this is a terrible deal for the borrower, it's a zero-sum outcome, be a good deal for the lender." And like ideally, we just reach some market where like both sides are happy, which is where we are today. Sometimes people are like, "Oh, it's a terrible deal for lenders." I'm like, which means you think the borrowers are getting a good deal, I assume. And a lot of people just like they can't bridge the two. If it's bad for one in their view, that means that there's an opportunity for them on the other side. And a lot of people just can't take that next step. And I get it. It's a complicated process. It's not something that people feel super comfortable with in some cases, and some people just rule it out entirely, which is totally fine. It's an option for people if they want something else to do with their moments, a way to kind of stretch their buying power if they want. Lots of different ways to think about it.
Yeah, like I've been using it this off season for getting some legendaries in my account, because I randomly see grails because I'm watching some legendaries numerous times a day that I'm spending too much time on. But I keep an eye on the price, and when they drop low enough, I like to snipe them right then and there. So I put up really good legendaries for like $100 and do like 3 or 4 of them, and that's how I get my money like on quick finance. And I've told people like DM me, like I'm not going to let a $400 moment, or at least cost me $400 moment, go for $100. So if you want a safe first lending experience, I'm like, check out, I'll do a deal with you. And I have people in my DMs frequently. I'm like, I'm safe. I can't tell you about other people because you're always playing a risk. But like, if my loans are not paid back, then something happened to me and I'm MIA. Because like, I'm not going anywhere, guys.
But
so like, that's
also a really nice part of smart contracts. It's like even if something happens to you, we don't want to see that. But if something does, the contract still executes the way it's supposed to.
It's like in memory banana.
That's like a security thing. That's like a security thing, because it's like, if you fund my loan and it's like some amazing deal, like you might want me to die. So I put auto repay in. So even if you kill me, Well, Sandra will send that money into my wallet so that it's not.
Wow. This just got
I didn't
dark.
hear any of this.
I'm a forgetter on auto pay sometimes. Sometimes I'm so like going fast, I forget to click it at the bottom, and that's on me. But I'm like,
No,
I don't know. I'm not good with
I
it.
think about that stuff sometimes. Like even with Ethereum, like if I had a gold 8, like I wouldn't really be able to like sleep at night.
Yeah, you got it.
It's true. It's true.
But even like what you were saying there, BananaMac, it's one of the things I love about this community. You and I talked about it, and I just ran out of time. I was really going to dive into it. And but people in this community are very helpful. If you've got a question, if you know, what should I list this at, or how should I, if you're doing a lot of trading and buying and loaning and buying on Flowty, people will respond and help you through things, help you understand it. I guess it's kind of feels like probably because the community's gotten smaller. Everybody's willing to be helpful. It doesn't seem to be a lot of anger, just a lot of, hey, this is fun, we're enjoying it, and let me help you learn to use your NFT in a way that I have that's really enjoyable. And again, if you've never done that, it is a little bit, you're like, I'm not sure about this and the different wallets and all of that stuff. So it's really nice to have somebody go, hey, I'll help you with this the first time, and it's completely safe, and you don't have to worry about getting done wrong. It's really cool to have that part of the community.
Well, it's because we're all about collecting, connecting, right?
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
forever. That's what I'm saying. The C&C.
This is empty right now. I should have put scotch in it.
Oh goodness!
I got a few more things to do this afternoon. I'm not in scotch mode yet.
Yeah, you got.
But I totally agree. When I first joined TopShot way back in 2020, I was a fish out of water. I had no idea what was going on, and at the time there were probably 200 active people in the community. And I do think it being kind of a smaller group and people kind of excited about what they were doing makes people much more willing to handhold, to take the time to introduce someone to what they're doing. And today, the people who are left in the TopShot community are people who are passionate about it at the end of the day. Anyone who had any kind of doubt about it, anyone who wasn't here for, was here only because they were, I don't know, flipping things or looking for profits. The opportunities that did exist before don't really exist now, or not as obvious as they were before. So people who kind of weren't here for the pure platform and for the community are largely gone, which means the group of people remaining care about the platform, care about the community, care about the groups like C&C and Badge County and all the different communities around the ecosystem. And I think they're far more willing to engage and help rather than view this as kind of like a grind to extract profits. It's a really interesting remaining community right now. But yeah, I'm always grateful to people who helped me out early on with everything around the blockchain ecosystem, around TopShot specifically. And I know exactly the kind of interaction you're talking about, where someone's looking at a Blockdo wallet or a Flow reference wallet for the first time, and they're like, what does this mean? Is this safe? I've read about scams. How do I access this? Is it safe for me to share this wallet number with you even, or this wallet address with you? And having a trusted person kind of show you the ropes makes it all feel a lot better, a lot safer. Yeah,
you're right. No doubt. And you got to always watch out for the shady characters like Spence.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man. And three ball. Get 3 ball out of here.
With the wallets, I always tell people that's, to me, the worst part. When I started on Flowty, getting my wallet into like my Chrome and all that was like arguably the hardest part. Once I started loaning, it came easy. Same with the renting. I figured it out. I figured out how to do deposits. And like with the renting, I've said it before, always make your deposit a lot higher than what the moment's worth in case it takes a pump. So all my renters are normally like $20. If the moment's valued at 40, I normally am asking $55, $60 for a deposit. Just because that way you're safe. And like there are people in the community when a moment pumps who goes into the renting side of things. Yeah. And they rent it out because they can get it cheap.
And I think this next season, Flowty, you guys are just going to be overwhelmed because the action I saw on Fast Break and the renting and the fun that everybody was having in Fast Break kind of towards the end of last season, I just think it's going to be crazy. I hear chatter about it in
treat. Mayor duty's call. Mayor duty's call.
He heard chatter and he was done.
Yeah, he's out.
But Fast Break is taking off, and I don't know if you guys both play it or no?
I do. I can't say I over-engineer my lineups. I kind of just pop them in and see what happens. But I do. A part of it is I want to like make sure I'm on top of everything happening in the ecosystem so that we understand as we're looking at Flowty what new features people might want. It's how we ended up supporting rentals in the first place, how we end up with loans. Like loans were a byproduct of people doing loan type arrangements off chain on a trust basis. And we're like, all right, one, that's limiting because you have to know people, you have to trust people. And two, it's dangerous. Stuff happens. So how can we formalize this and make sure that it's safe and anyone can do it on an anonymous basis without having to know anyone else? And so that's where loans came from. And so with that in mind, we want to stay very plugged into what's going on. Trevor, James Dillon Bond of Rip City Community World is a legend who is part of our team and knows everything and everyone. And so he's super plugged in too, but we want to try and keep our finger on the pulse. And I know what Josh is going to say, but Josh, fire away.
Well, my mind was actually thinking just a comment on to tell you too. Like I've been watching a lot of stuff on like just like art and stuff like that, and the way that they're diving into the lending market with just like borrowing against traditional art and paintings and stuff, it's actually really fascinating and everything. And it just makes me feel like the sky is the limit with Flowty and everything because they're realizing right now as well in the traditional art market, like holy heck, like people are starting to really leverage these paintings and everything just to borrow against it, and it's actually having an effect on the traditional art market. And I think eventually we'll start to see some of that in Top Shot too. I don't want to give too much alpha away and everything, but I'm excited about what's going on. Honestly, like even if prices on like for example the Series 1, the finals, LeBron, the floor of it can stay exactly where it is a year from now, and I'll take it up a little bit.
You'll fix it yourself.
So if you want to hear a fun one, so right now, part of the friction of borrowing against physical assets is kind of custody of the physical asset, like who holds it, where, is it secure enough? And so there are blockchain companies that are allowing you to tokenize or what they call RWAs or real world assets. And basically there is a vault, like a physical vault somewhere where people store art, and you send an object there, and then there's a company that issues an NFT that represents that real world asset, and then that NFT can be borrowed against, bought, sold, but anytime it's transacted, you don't need to worry about the custody of the asset. It remains in this one vault until someone goes and redeems it, which is pretty cool. And it also sometimes makes me laugh because physical goods that are stored in a vault underground somewhere in a temperature controlled area with a digital representation are just like so close to just being an NFT. There's just like a physical thing somewhere that someone talked about and there's a photo of it somewhere. It's just like, why don't we just do away with that last part and then it's just all NFTs? So it's kind of funny, but part of the challenge of that physical side, and it's not liability that we would wear if we were to kind of get more involved with this RWA space, is let's say there's a flood in the vault and the asset is destroyed and there's sentimental value of the asset, and even if insurance company can pay for some estimated value of it, it's just a difficult and bad experience for everyone all around. Whereas on the NFT side, like the condition is kind of guaranteed, the authenticity is guaranteed, all of that kind of stuff, and it makes things a lot less complicated for us.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. That's what I like about NFTs so much. And I think we're just super early, which I swear I'll say every episode. But like, this is just the beginning. I rock this Flowty hoodie all around town, everywhere, guys. And at the gym, the amount of people were like, what is that? And I explain it. And I think I've had one guy in like the 600 members we have who was like, I was on Top Shot in 2021. And I was like, one of my people. It's about time. But like people don't know, so it's new. It's like not everyday jargon for people. And I think that like mentioned.
Yeah, it's even just the concept of the loan transaction itself definitely is hard for some people to understand. We do try and draw it back to a pawn shop style transaction because that's, I mean, the real life equivalent in a sense, but without all the headaches attached to it, which is good. But yeah, it's the education part is definitely difficult and something we try and work on. But that's why, again, I'll thank you guys and show incredible appreciation for what you guys do, because spreading the awareness, getting endorsement from community members like yourselves who are awesome, trusted voices in the community. It goes so far for us. It does so much for us, and we get people all the time. BananaMac told me all about loans. Like, can you just show me this last step, how it works? Or I saw Josh's post. How do I get to his account? He said he's got a lot of loan opportunities. I'm like, here you go. Got that on speed dial. And yeah, it's super helpful for us.
And it's huge. Like since when I started, I've noticed how many more loans there are out there. Like when I started, I had to really watch Discord to see what was available. And I feel like now whenever you open the loan page, there's a lot of opportunity compared to like back in March, which wasn't that far away, like 6 months.
Yeah. The other thing too, I feel like it's just such an opportunity. Like, I mean, I know this is going to end up on YouTube and everything, but YouTube for the algorithms, just realize people are making money, earning passive income off of basketball highlights, like off of football highlights. Like I told my stepdad like the other day, and he was just like laughing about it. Like he's just like when you step back, people are making money off of basketball highlights, passive income backed by basketball highlights. Like it's gonna take 10 years for everyone to understand this shit.
Yeah. And like when you put it like that, it's like, this is wild. Like my friends are always like, don't get her started on what goes on. But like they literally, when someone's like, what do you do? They're like, all of them are like, please don't start it. But there's so much opportunity out there. And like all I've done is loan. And it's huge. Like this whole thing with September 3rd and the bridging and USDC gone really changed my income because I had loans going all the way up until December. I have account, I have everything tracked that's coming in, and then I reloan. So like it's very profitable and it's a lot of fun, honestly, especially when you get paid early and the email comes in. There's like no greater feeling, even if it's by day.
Yeah, we're hoping. I'm talking to, so we actually have the funds for the early repayment, the September 3rd or later, in our wallet now, but it's a bit of a process to go and like repay all them on behalf of everyone else. So I have a call with Austin, our CTO, after this is done. And so it may go out as early as this afternoon. Otherwise, it'll be early next week. So a little alpha for the listeners here and for you guys. That'll be going out. And I know our buddy Ryba guy is a pretty big beneficiary of this, and yeah, they put up a post looking to pay it forward, which is nice.
Yeah, that was awesome of him. I actually fund a lot of his loans.
Nice.
I really like the secondaries. So him, Josh, your girlfriend's another one who I fund like all three of you guys quite frequently. Yeah. I funded Danny Green's fun fact that day.
Nice, thank you. Yeah, the Danny Greens too. Just fun fact with the Danny Greens, like the only reason why we went crazy with those Danny Greens was because the Black Mamba jersey. So that's just why we bought a ton of them.
I knew that. I was like, I'm funding them all, and
it's
like
the AD also, right?
Yeah, the AD too. Danny Green, that's the cheapest one. But with Ryba guy too, like it is. I'm so happy to like see him like just borrowing against so many of his NFTs and everything. Like I remember, I think it was like earlier this year or something, and like him and I were like talking on Twitter, and he's like explaining like fast break to me, and I'm talking to him about the loans thing, and now he's just like going crazy with the loans. So it's just like it's amazing to see it and everything. And like I said, like there was a couple of his loans where I was actually like getting ready to fund it, and then somebody else funded it. So like eventually, I know I'm gonna start funding some of his as well and everything. So I love seeing more and more people kind of see the value in it.
Yeah, it's awesome. And he actually sends me the odd one to use for my burns, which is kind of cool of him. So we've been putting up some legendaries for burns. I don't know if you guys are into burning, but it's been kind of neat. Like that Flowty connection turned into someone helping me out
Yes.
on my side. So like we're all collecting and connecting all the time.
Yeah. I haven't burned anything, but I'm grateful for MBL and what he's burned.
Yes. No, I like the burns. I was really happy with what Dapper did the other day. I think it was last week where they did the cash in 25 moments for $10 in Dapper credits. That was a lot of fun. And then there were people who didn't have 40 moments but just came onto Flowty, paid collectively $7.50, $8 for the moments, got back $10, and roughly breaking even from a dollar standpoint, but taking an additional 25 moments out of circulation, which is great. And so yeah, those community run burns are awesome. They're great, and yeah, we always try and support those kinds of things. So I know BananaMac, we were talking the other day about Flowty contributing a shopping spree to that. We're always down for that sort of thing. We always want to support C&C. C&C's an awesome group that's been a big Flowty supporter from day one. So love that.
Yeah,
we've got Treat in a Flowty hat for some of Treat's most watched videos and most watched hats. I think the one where he overlaid, I don't know if he overlaid Titanic or something, and he was looking at the photo of Roham. He's got a Flowty hat on in that video. That's a classic.
You should get him to make a jingle for you.
And
I think we've been mentioned in a jingle. I think we have. Yeah.
No, I was gonna say, thank you, Banana, for all the burning that you do too. And just for the reference, when I said MBL, you're burning, I meant because like how you burned that the Game 6 Finals LeBron perfect mint. So I just forever grateful that you burnt that, and now I have the last bit of it. So
I can't believe I had to do that. I was on vacation with my wife when that was happening, and BananaMac, I don't know if you know the situation when the LeBron block moment was dropped, like the Iguodala block. When that was dropped, they had a couple of leaderboards, and they were pretty strict about what moments you could burn that would qualify for leaderboards. And there are some moments, everyone's favorite topic, that have an outsized top shot score. And a lot of them are Series 1 legendaries, and the top shot scores are like out of control. Some of them are like 800,000 top shot score for something that's worth, let's call it $5,000 today. So it's a massive outlier there. And so one of those moments was a finals legendary LeBron from Series 1. And it was pretty much guaranteed if you burned one of those, unless someone else wanted to go like absolutely crazy, that you could get an unopened or like an airdropped version of this LeBron block. And there were 23 of the LeBron blocks. And LeBron's my favorite player. I collect more of him than anyone else by far. And like that's the marquee moment of his career. So I was like, shit. My issue is I'm comfortable burning this finals legendary moment, but I have the perfect mint of it. And so I had to decide, am I burning the perfect mint to get one of these packs or am I not? And I made the decision at like 3 a.m. I think maybe even like 2 a.m. while I was away with my wife. And she's like, what the hell are you doing? And I was like everything's fine. It's good. And I'm like mashing refresh because I burned it. And this was before the burn leaderboards redeemed your moments if you lost. So it was possible that I burned the last mint of the finals legendary LeBron and didn't even get the airdrop. So I'm like dripping sweat, refresh. And then finally it was like 2:01 a.m. and it looked like I had like won the leaderboard, but I had to burn the perfect mint. Now in good news, I did get the number one of the block. I don't know if it was from that because I also got airdropped another one, but I did end up with the number one. So that was
worth it.
I don't know if it was worth it, but yeah.
It makes for a good story though. Like honestly, even when I'm telling people like, oh yeah, like the Game 6 LeBron NFT, I have the last copy of it. Like the other two were burned, and people ask me like, why would somebody burn that? And I'm like, well, the block on Iguodala, like he burned it to get that. And they're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Terrible. I have to give up my firstborn basically to get a LeBron block.
I'm so happy that you did though. I'm so happy. Like I don't think I've ever burned anything, but like I'm so grateful of burning and what Top Shot did with the burning challenges, just because you burned that. And at the time it was like, okay, Sandra had the 750 LeBron of the other one. So it's like, okay, now that's the only perfect mint. Like, thank you, MBL. Like, this is so great. Not knowing that I would then get the number 77 and have the last existing mint of that too. So I've just benefited so much from you burning that. Like, well, time will tell. You know, like 10 years from now, like we'll see how that turns out. But thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure. Oh, I remember the exact moment. I was like, I cannot believe I'm doing this. What am I doing? What am I doing? What am I doing? But yeah, I mean, you mentioned it there too. BananaMac, your contests, your community events, those are awesome. I mean, you've had some where the wheel, when you post a video of the wheel, the slivers are so narrow.
The
It's
wheel
so
is
good.
restful. Like near the ending, it starts to glitch adding names in. Like it says, wait a minute. And then within a minute, like the names drop on. Because there's like been, I don't know, 5,000 names on the wheel before.
Crazy.
Like,
but it's awesome to see you do it.
It's like a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun. And I believe in burning. And explaining to outside people burning has become a new part of my life. My friends now understand what burning a moment is. I put it in layman terms. I explain to them it's like taking a perfect card and dropping it in a puddle or lighting it on fire, because that's like the best.
You could go with just straight burning. It's like burning it. It's like, yeah.
I'm like, I don't know how to describe this to you guys. And they're like, I don't get it. So I'm working on bringing outside people in over here, but I'm really after
you got to recruit them in. You got to recruit them.
It's slow. It's a slow process. They're
Do they
really
know you're a celebrity in this world?
I think they realized when we went to a game and I tweeted and my Twitter went off that I'm not just like hanging out with my random internet friends doing nothing. I think they realized there's a little more to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I have a few people interested in the loans. I think I'm gonna like pull them in to specifically fund mine because I always want them funded on a dime because I never have a plan until I see a moment listed cheap enough. So
that's one thing that we want to improve upon, the turnaround time from I want to borrow, I have a listing, to it being funded. We've talked to bigger pockets of capital, like financial institutions, investors, and kind of said, would you guys be comfortable with the idea of saying if a loan meets certain criteria, like it's below a certain loan to value, above a certain rate, below a certain duration, let's call it, we will automatically fund it every time, so that at least people know maybe they don't want those terms, but if they want a loan to be immediately funded, then they know that's available if you meet these terms. And it's been a little bit hard to get people across the line, primarily because valuations are a little bit finicky right now. So sometimes valuations are a little bit off and it's out of our control. We don't do it, but sometimes it's a moment that's only sold once or twice or three times before. And so the valuations aren't that good on it. And they can be manipulated theoretically. You could sell one to yourself for theoretically like $1 million, which would impact then the valuation on it. Then you could go through this automated process of saying, okay, I'm taking out a loan at 30% of this value, which is 10 times the actual value, and kind of drain the investor on that basis. And so that process is a little bit complicated right now. And so we're trying to work on that. But fortunately, because it's a more widely used feature nowadays, well-priced loans go pretty quickly. And hopefully that's what you guys have experienced also. We want that to be the case. And look, sometimes it takes a tweet or a post in the Discord or a couple of DMs or something, but they move pretty quickly.
They do.
Go ahead, Josh.
No, I was just agreeing. Like they do, and I've heard people say in the past, like there's not that many good listings, and it's like because the good ones just go so quickly. Like I mean, I've got over 200 loans that I've got funded, so it's like I know that they're actually getting funded. You might not see them on the website all the time, but yeah, they go quick.
Yeah, and sometimes like just based on the person will be if I fund it or not. Like I like shorter terms. 30 to 60 day range is like more trackable for a loan to me, but I will loan something I'll loan for Josh because I know him. I know his listings, good rate, and like I'll do a 90-day term. Like it varies a lot for me, and it depends on like what kind of connection I have with somebody. So for the most part, Josh doesn't default. I'm not gonna say you haven't, but you haven't on me. I'm safe giving you like any loan for the most part.
Yeah, I mean,
this is an interesting topic, the kind of reputation style loans, we'll call it, because oftentimes we get the question, and I know I've talked to both of you guys about this, which is, why don't you add some data on people's profiles, talking about their repayment history, talking about effectively a credit score for them. Credit score is a pretty common thing for a lot of people around the world. They get the concept. The credit score tells you this person has a good reputation for repayment. And the reason we haven't done that, and maybe we'll do some form of it eventually, is that because loans are anonymous, there's no real way for us to guarantee that a person's credit score is real and organic. Assume just the adverse scenario here is you set up a new wallet, then you set up 50 other wallets, and you put up a loan, one of your other wallets funds it, you repay. One of your other wallets funds it, you repay. And now you have a history of 50 loans successfully repaid with 50 different lenders. So it looks like a perfect story. And suddenly you're going out to do a loan that's off market. You're borrowing more than you should probably be borrowing, but you've got this sterling reputation. We have, some green validation on your profile saying this person's a great borrower, and then you don't repay that loan, and you effectively steal funds from a lender. That's something that we can't control against. And again, going back to kind of what's really important to us as a platform, it's important for us to not. For us to ensure people don't have a negative or confusing experience where we as a platform have kind of endorsed a borrower by showing metrics that make them an attractive borrower, and someone else makes a decision on that basis and then gets hurt. And there's a really nice counter argument here, which is, well, look, that data is available anyway. For anyone who knows how to pull data off the blockchain, they can see that this person is a wallet that has repaid loans before. We can't tell you details about the loans, but that all exists. And so absolutely, if you want to go get that data, yes, but us putting it on the site, we feel like sends a message, and we want to be careful and thoughtful before we send that kind of message. And so we've thought about it. And for someone like Josh or BananaMac, you guys obviously have great reputations in the space. And I hope that the way it really ends up working is that you guys do benefit from your reputation. Like it sounds like Josh does sometimes, because BananaMac will do a longer term loan, even though we don't as a platform present that information directly on site. And maybe there's an in-between solution somewhere at some point, or maybe you guys have some ideas, but that's why we don't have it right now.
No, and I'm cool with how things are right now, with just, it being mostly about the numbers and stuff like that makes sense to me and everything. What I will say too is just on the loan term lengths and everything, one of my lenders actually is my friend Tony, who he wasn't even like involved in the platform or NFTs at all. And I just repaid his loan today. So he made like $93, which is like great and everything. But his thing that he keeps messaging me, and I promised him that I would talk to you about it, MBL, was he wants like the longer loan because he keeps saying his taxes. He wants to avoid capital gains. So it's like if he could do a year or even multiple year, he feels like he would be. I don't know. Like I'm not like a tax professional expert, but I told him I would tell you that because I feel like that was good feedback or whatever. I'm like, I'm not fighting you on it. Like it'd be great. I don't mind. I would do a year or plus or whatever. I don't know if he wanted like really long, it's like 10 years. I'm like, I don't know if it could go that long, but yeah, I told him I'd mention it to you just for the tax standpoint. I don't know. I mean, what that looks like, but yeah.
Yeah. So my lawyers always say I can't talk about taxes, partially because everyone's tax experience is different based on what state you're in, what country you're in, what income bracket you're in, all this kind of stuff. And tax laws are pretty fluid and changing all the time. Part of the reason we do have a cap on loan length, which I think is as far as 365 days, I think, is, and maybe this is us meddling, would be interested to hear your guys' views. I worry, practically speaking, just from like a pure fundamentals standpoint, the longer term a loan is, the greater chance a lender gets hurt, because if the moment crashes in value, the borrower logically shouldn't repay, and the lender may end up losing money. If the moment skyrockets in value, the lender doesn't do better from a repayment standpoint. Their upside is capped effectively. And so having a one-way tail risk like that is exacerbated enormously by a longer-term loan. The longer the time horizon, the more likely that tail risk comes into play. And it's in some ways to kind of protect lenders from doing something as ambitious as like a 5 or 10 year loan, but maybe it's not our place to make that decision. And if lenders want to do that, by all means. So That's one aspect. And the second aspect is we are a startup. We have VC funding. We've got plenty of cash, but at the end of the day, it's hard for us to know what 3 years out is going to look like right now. And so if we as a platform go down, first of all, we would probably keep the lights on. It would just mean like no more features are coming, something like that. Second, you can always repay through the smart contract. The smart contract doesn't go anywhere. So there's always going to be a path to repay. But it definitely complicates things.
I agree. I think that 3, 5, 10 years, definitely 10 years is a long time and everything. But with 1 year, I think as far as what I know, maybe it's different with Flow, but with USDC, like the max was 150 days, like up until I think even when you guys just like pulled it. With Flow, I'm not sure, but I think it might be the same too. So just something to think about. But yeah,
right. We can definitely look at that. If you don't mind, shoot me a note and so I make sure I remember this. I'm in stream mode. I remember this conversation. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like we can go forever, but we got to start wrapping up. Any final comments you guys want to say?
Yeah, I mean, thank you guys for having me, and thank you MBL for putting Flowty together, man. I really think like it has a unique. You have a unique situation to really like change the world in a lot of ways, because again, Ethereum is just different. It's complicated, more security risk. So to be the official loan platform for Flow, I think it's huge, and I don't think people realize it yet.
And from my side, I just want to again. I think if I could pick 2 people who have been the most impactful for Flowty out of the community, it would be the 2 of you guys. We've had a ton of awesome support, but you guys go really, really out of your way to support the platform, to endorse the platform, to talk about it, to help people get comfortable with the platform. It's very different if I reach out to someone and say, hey, can I help you with something as founder of the company? People like, obviously my incentive is to help people onboard versus you guys who are taking your own time, your own energy, your own effort to onboard people. And it means a lot to us. Like I was saying before, it means a lot to the team. And we're so appreciative. And it's always awesome talking to both of you guys. I chat with both of you all the time, and to get you guys in this kind of forum on a Friday afternoon is a great way to top off the week. So BananaMac, C&C team, thank you guys very much for hosting, and always a pleasure chatting with you guys.
Yeah. Thank you to both of you for coming on. That was awesome. I hope everyone learned a lot, and I'll tune into C&C next week. Thanks, guys.
We had awesome hosts, awesome guests, good vibes. You know the deal. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching us. Like and subscribe on YouTube. And if you got a minute, check out our merch store at Shop Collectin and Connectin. Thanks, everyone. See you next Tuesday.